Now that you have separated out all the company's information onto their respective tabs, the next important task is to take a look at if there's any return abnormalities in your data. So the way to do this is by perform a summary statistics on the returns. The original download doesn't include returns, so you have to compute returns on your own. So right next to price, I'm gonna add a column that says return. And since the trading frequency for your data is on a daily basis, so you can use either log return or percentage return. In this case, I'm just gonna use log return of log of today's price over previous trading day's price, and use field handle to complete the rest. And in the empty area, I'm gonna perform a quick summary stats based on the return series. The convention, the norm for computing summary stats is what is the max, what is the mean, what is the average return, what is the standard div, and how many data points are in the series. So I'm just gonna use these functions on the data series to compute all the summary statistics. So if I press F4 to lock the range, then I can copy down the formula by press Ctrl+D, and then just go ahead and revise what is the function used for each statistics. This way I can quickly compute my summary statistics. Okay, so now I have completed my summary stats. Now let's take a look at it. So the max return shows the maximum daily return for Apple is 13.02%, and that looks reasonable for a daily return. If they have a good quarter and the earning outperformed the Wall Street expectation, then they might have a big jump on return on a daily basis. But this minimum return of negative 193% is too big, so that's definitely a red flag that we need to look into. And of course, this one outlier right here affects the rest of the calculation for average and standard deviation. So these two measures are no longer reliable. And the count just tells us how many data points are in the series. In this case, it's 2,518. Okay, so to diagnose like where the outlier lies, we can perform a simple line chart on the returns by going to Insert and the line chart and click on the line chart, and you see that we have to revise the horizontal axis label so we know where that outlier is located. Okay, so you see this outlier is located somewhere between June of 2014 and June of 2015. So the next task is to perform a quick Google search to see if there's any stock split for Apple between 2014 and 2015. So I entered in Google search Apple stock split 2014, and then the search result shows me there's a 7-for-1 split on June 9th, 2014. Okay, now let's go back to our tab. Okay, and now we know what is the stock split date. So I'm gonna mark it. Stock split is on June 9th, 2014. And the next task is I have to adjust my downloaded price of the stock split. Okay, because the download price, remember we download from CRISP, the data is unadulterated. So now we have to manually adjust this stock split before we can compute returns. So I'm gonna insert a column and it says adjust price. So the way I'm gonna adjust price is I'm going to use an if statement. So I'm gonna say, hey, if this price happens before my stock split, then I'm going to have to divide this price by 7 to be consistent with the stock price after stock split. Okay, so I'm gonna use if statement, and it says if this date is smaller than my stock split. And because this stock split date doesn't change, so I'm gonna use F4 to lock the row and column for this cell. And I'm gonna say if this date is smaller than stock split, then divide today's price by 7. Otherwise implies if it's the same day or after stock split, then retain the stock price the way it is. Okay, so now I built the formula for the first cell. I can just use a fill handle to complete the calculation for the remainder of the column for me. Okay, so now I have adjusted the stock price. I have to add a column to compute what is the just return, right? So similarly, I'm going to use log return on the just price and use fill handle. And then I'm going to repeat the process for summary statistics. Okay, so here I'm just going to perform max on the just return. Press F4 to lock the data range and copy down the formula and revise the formula for each. Div, okay, and count. Okay, so now my new summary statistics based on a just return shows me that the maximum daily return is still the same, but now my minimum daily return is restored to the reasonable range of negative 19.75%. And you can see what is the average return, which is 0.08% for Apple on a daily basis and standard deviation. And now the summary statistic looks correct. Okay, so you can perform like a further check on the stock return by using the frequency table and plot the frequency data using the frequency array function. So if you want to do this, we have to first create bins. The bins need to be stretching over the limits of the boundaries of the data range a little bit. So the maximum is 13.02, let's say just 13.1%. And we're going to decrease the increments until we're stretched over negative 19.75%. So let's just use negative 1% as an increment and copy down. We have to copy down even more. Okay, roughly 20% is good enough for us. And perform a frequency array function on the data range. In this case, the data range will be the adjusted return range and the bins array. And since it's array function, press Ctrl+Shift+Enter to compute the first one, and then press that Shift key and down arrow button. And then to select the remainder of the range, press F2 to reactivate the cell and Ctrl+Shift+Enter to compute the array function for the remainder of the column. Okay, now you have compute the frequency, you have stored all those adjusted return into bins, and you can now perform a quick quick frequency, build a quick frequency chart to see how this returns is distributed. So just go to Insert and this column chart, and you see now the return follows roughly a normal distribution. That means there's no more red flags in your underlying returns. If you repeat this process for 3 more times for Netflix, Facebook, and Google, then you will complete the data cleaning process.